Have you ever pondered where empirical science, the methodical study of the natural world, really originated from? Would you believe it's deeply rooted in Christianity? Empirical science, the systematic approach to understanding our universe through observation and experimentation, didn't just spring up overnight. It has a rich and complex history intertwined with faith and philosophy. Notably, it owes much of its foundation to a handful of devout Christians from the Middle Ages. Francis Bacon, often hailed as the father of empirical science, was one such individual. A man of deep Christian faith, Bacon ushered in a new era of scientific inquiry. He championed inductive reasoning, the process of making broad generalizations from specific observations, as a superior method to gain accurate knowledge of the world. This was a marked departure from the deductive reasoning of the ancient Greeks that preceded it. Bacon's faith played a significant role in shaping his scientific methodologies. He believed in the fallen, sinful nature of man, a state of being that made people vulnerable to self-deception, flights of fancy, and prematurely jumping to conclusions. To Bacon, inductive reasoning offered a safeguard against these pitfalls, providing a more reliable path to truth. And Bacon was not alone. Some of the most influential figures in the history of science shared his faith and his approach to understanding the world. Take, for instance, Sir Isaac Newton, a devout Christian, who revolutionized our understanding of physics and mathematics. Or Johannes Kepler, another deeply religious man, who laid the groundwork for modern astronomy. These individuals, among others, were pioneers in their fields, driven by their belief in a divinely ordered universe. They saw their work not as a contradiction of their faith, but as a way to understand and appreciate God's creation. So the next time you marvel at a scientific discovery or a technological breakthrough, remember the origins of empirical science. It's a testament to the curious minds who sought truth, guided by their faith and their quest for understanding. These devout individuals laid the foundations of empirical science, driven by their faith and belief in the divine order of the universe. Now, let's delve into the heart of empirical science, the bottom-up inductive reasoning championed by Francis Bacon. In the realm of reasoning, two primary methods stand out: inductive and deductive reasoning. The ancient Greeks, with their love for logic and philosophy, largely employed a top-down deductive approach. They would start with a general principle or theory, then deduce specific applications or conclusions from it. Enter Francis Bacon, the father of empirical science and a devout Christian. Bacon flipped the script, promoting a bottom-up inductive reasoning. Instead of beginning with a broad theory, Bacon urged researchers to start with specific observations and experiments, then derive general theories or laws from these collected data. Bacon's Christian beliefs played a crucial role in his advocacy for inductive reasoning. He believed in the fallen, sinful nature of man, a nature prone to self-deception, flights of fancy, and hasty conclusions. He saw how deductive reasoning could easily be manipulated by these human flaws. After all, if one starts with a flawed theory, all deductions that follow will inevitably be flawed as well. In contrast, inductive reasoning, with its insistence on empirical evidence and careful observation, guards against these pitfalls. With a solid grounding in reality, it's harder for falsehoods and misconceptions to take root. Each step up the ladder of induction is supported by a sturdy rung of data, building towards a more accurate and reliable understanding of the world. This is not to say that deductive reasoning doesn't have its place. In fact, the two methods often work in tandem, with induction generating theories and deduction testing them. However, Bacon's emphasis on induction has profoundly shaped the scientific method, helping us build a more accurate picture of our universe. Bacon's inductive approach, inspired by his Christian faith, has proven superior in gaining accurate, reliable knowledge about the world around us. But what of Darwinian evolution? Interestingly, it's heavily reliant on just-so stories, not compelling real-time empirical evidence. This is a statement that may raise a few eyebrows, but let's dig deeper. Darwinian evolution, the theory that all life on Earth randomly evolved and diversified, has been a cornerstone of biological sciences for more than a century. However, it isn't without its limitations. One of its main criticisms is that it relies heavily on conjecture, on narratives that neatly explain the complexity of life, but lack concrete empirical evidence. To illustrate this point, we can quote the renowned evolutionary biologist Stephen Jay Gould. He once said, "The extreme rarity of transitional forms in the fossil record persists as the trade secret of paleontology." This candid admission underscores the fact that the fossil record, a key pillar of Darwinian evolution, often falls short of providing the clear-cut evidence required to substantiate the theory's claims. Biochemist Michael Behe, another critic of Darwinian evolution, argues that many biological systems are irreducibly complex at the molecular level. This means they require all their parts to be present in order to function. Such complexity, he asserts, cannot be explained by the gradual process of evolution proposed by Darwin. Now let's consider the philosophical implications of Darwinian materialism. Under this worldview, concepts such as consciousness, free will, morality, and our sense of beauty are reduced to mere illusions or products of our imagination. But if these aspects of our existence are illusory, what does that mean for empirical science, which relies on rational thought and observation? Without a coherent basis for free will, the ability to make choices independent of natural deterministic laws, can we trust our own capacity for rational thought? Can we trust the scientific process, which is fundamentally reliant on our ability to make independent observations and draw logical conclusions? In the absence of a coherent explanation for these foundational aspects of our existence, without a coherent basis for free will, Darwinism cannot provide a solid foundation for rationally practicing empirical science. From its inception, empirical science has had a profound Christian influence. Its father, Francis Bacon, was a devout Christian who championed bottom-up inductive reasoning. This methodology, born from his belief in the fallen, sinful nature of man, was geared towards avoiding self-deception and premature conclusions. Medieval Christian Europe saw the emergence of many scientific pioneers, all devout in their faith. Their contributions laid the groundwork for modern science as we know it. In contrast, Darwinian evolution often resorts to unproven narratives to support its claims, lacking in compelling real-time empirical evidence. Notably, under Darwinian materialism, concepts such as consciousness, free will, morality, and our sense of beauty become illusory or imaginary. And without a coherent basis for free will, rationality, a cornerstone for empirical science, is lost. Christianity and empirical science are not at odds. Instead, they share a deep historical connection that has shaped our understanding of the world.